Hello, everyone. Good morning. As Dr. Anwar has already told that I'm assistant professor in computer science. I go by Mohammad Siddiqui. And I did my PhD from US University in Toledo, Ohio. And then I started working here a couple of years ago. And my area of research has been somewhat around this AI. My area of research specifically was human-computer interaction, and which takes a lot from artificial intelligence as well. So today we are here to discuss about the things that we think about AI are good enough, and I'll break your conventions about that they are not that good enough as they seem to us, right? Because every time you work in such an area like artificial intelligence, you cannot help but praise how good your brain is, right? Because we have those capabilities that sometimes it looks like impossible that we can impart it to a machine. So starting off with a very basic question, because many of us have wrong conventions about what is an AI. Anything we look at a machine doing by itself, we assume that it is an AI, right? But actually, if I go with a very basic definition, artificial intelligence is, you can think of as giving some decisive power to a machine, where it can take decisions for you. Now, decisions can be of any ways. Right now, we are having so many applications in this that it becomes difficult to come down to this point where we can think of that how they are deciding. I mean, if they are doing something, how they are doing by deciding, right? So just to give you an example, I cannot help but bring ChatGPT into this conversation because that is something that is very much popular right now, right? So you might all be aware of this ChatGPT, but there are certain things that you might not be aware of it. First of all, it is a type of AI that we call as generative AI. That is for generating something that is not already there. So these generative AI models, when I say models, you can think of them like algorithms, basically. These models are so good that they can generate something. You can generate a face of a human that has never existed on this earth. You can generate a voice that was never spoken from a human being. And you can generate videos that no one made those videos before. So generative AI, and this ChatGPT is one aspect of that generative AI, where it is generating text for us, basically. These models, they are called as LLMs, that stands for large learning models. And when we say large learning models, that means we are talking about something huge. And when we say huge, it's about that model, the algorithm, they are so huge. If I give you just an example, when we talk about models in machine learning, there are certain parameters that are associated with each learning they make. So for example, if I ask them to recognize a picture, they will look for each pixel in the image, and then they will recognize the new image based upon the value of those pixels, right? But when it comes to ChatGPT, the number of parameters that they have is 175 billion parameters. So now you can think of how vast this is and how much power it requires to train these models and how much data is required. So that's why these tend to look very overwhelming to us, sometimes astonishingly accurate, as if someone provides you with a text generated by these models, you cannot differentiate whether it is from a human or from a machine. And that makes to some it might look really good, but to some people it might not look that good, because now something is being generated that is not under the control of any human, right? Similarly, many concerns come out, and just to be, to let you know that even this ChatGPT is not the largest model. The largest one that is, as far as my knowledge goes, is that is one from NVIDIA that is called as Megatron, that has 530 billion parameters, and it is proved to be more accurate as compared to ChatGPT in certain things, such as common sense. ChatGPT does not have any common sense. So you might have seen that riddle being asked that Mike's mom has 3 children. One is Jack, one is John. Who is the third one, right? As humans, we can reason and say it's Mike, right? But ChatGPT kept on asking, give me more information. I don't know what you're asking for. I don't have enough information. So the question comes up, are these really intelligent enough to take decisions for us, or they are not? To many of us, it looks like, yes, they are intelligent, right? But the answer is straight no. They are not intelligent. When we say intelligence, we have the power of reasoning, we have the power of thinking. But what these models are doing, So just to give you an example, when you might all have experienced that, when you write an email, it starts giving you a next word as a prediction, right? Press tab and that word will be there, right? You can think of ChatGPT as that model on steroids, basically, where instead of generating single word, it is generating a sentence. Rather than a sentence, a paragraph and whole page for you. And it is able to generate because it is doing something that someone has already done in the past. The data that it has been trained on. It is just looking for what it is doing. It looks at the word that you have written right now, and from the past data, it will try to find the next best word that fits into the context. And that's how it does the generation, and the answers are so accurate. Because there are three ways in which these models are being trained. First, you provide them with lots of data. Second, you fine tune them. And then in the third case, you give feedback to them. If they give you some certain answer, the feedback thing we call as reinforcement learning, where you penalize the model for giving you the wrong answers and you award the model for giving you the right answer. So it takes feedback from the humans, learn from it, and then evolve from there. So maybe today it won't be able to give you answers, but after like a month, it might be able to give you a better answer because now it has improved its learning. So that's why they are not intelligent. They are just like a parrot who is mimicking or who is writing anything in front of you without even knowing what that word means. It is not aware of the meaning. It is just writing it because it has seen that pattern before, right? So now if something is not that intelligent and giving it that much of credit for being so wonderful, and like a miracle, because for some people it might look like a miracle that a system is talking to you like a human would, right? Because they have gone to so much accuracy that it looks like if I present you with a text, you cannot differentiate whether it was from human or from a machine. So some of the ethical concerns arise from here. One of the ethical concerns, as Dr. Anwar already pointed out, is the privacy, right? So once we are, and again to emphasize, ChatGPT is not in AI. It is a portion of AI. And to give you more, you can say, information, even machine learning is not synonymous with AI. You might have heard this term machine learning and deep learning a lot. It is just a subset of AI. There is, if I draw a diagram and I draw a bigger circle, a Venn diagram for an AI, machine learning will be a smaller circle within that AI. It is a subset of AI. And if it is, and there are certain aspects that are not part of machine learning, we call them rule-based or knowledge-based learning. So for example, you might be aware of that we can make machines play chess with us, right? For chess, we have predefined rules. And those rules can be fed, and then the chess can be played by a machine, and it looks like it is doing it by being trained. So this is one aspect that is not machine learning, but it is falls into the category of artificial intelligence. Now, when I say the privacy issue with this AI, some of you might be concerned that how it is a privacy issue. So let me tell you that when someone collects our data without our consent, that can be understood that there is some issue with that thing, right? So how do you understand that it is collecting our data? So again, the data is not just your name, your email, or your phone number. Your habits is a data. So if there is a saying that if you do not find the price of any product, that means you are the product, right? So this is why when you basically you are scrolling through a website. Let me just give you a simple example that most of you can connect. We are scrolling a reels of Instagram, right? So there is sometime we like some reels, we stop there for a while. We finish that reel, then we proceed. And some of the reels we don't like, we just push them out, right? Now that machine learning algorithms is looking at our activity. It realized that they are liking certain type of videos, and next time it is going to give us the suggestion for those videos only, right? So this is they're collecting our habitual data, and we are not even aware of it. And they don't ask for our consent also, right? Let's go to another thing, like a website like Amazon. There are two types of strategies where they try to recommend you something. One based on your activity. So whatever you have bought from there, based on that, they will find out that, yeah, he likes these type of things. Maybe if you are a gamer, you are looking for a lot of games. Next time it will recommend you a game. And there another way is by looking at other people who are similar to you, they will give you suggestions. We call that collaborative filtering. What happens there is, for example, if I have bought certain products and given them some good ratings, and there's another person and there's another person who has bought the same products, and he has also given similar rating, then they will consider me and him similar. And whenever he buys something and give it a nice rating, they're going to recommend that product to me. So that's how they're using the data. So this is something which they are not accounted for. And this is very important in terms of artificial intelligence, that whatever data they are taking, first of all, it is secure. They are not using it somewhere else to influence someone, maybe by looking at our habits, by looking at our culture, by looking at our lifestyle, because habits reflect those lifestyle, right? We are getting, we are doing something, we are buying something, we are going somewhere, we are traveling somewhere, we are putting in the social media website, everything is being taken care of. So this is something, a major issue that we should be worried about, because they are using something that belongs to us, but without our consent. Second important aspect is the biases. I am not sure how many of you are aware with the biases that creeps in with these artificial intelligence things. Just to give an example, there's a, I won't take the name of that company, but there's a giant company, technical giant, that created, you can say, a system for hiring people. And after some time, they figured out that most of the time it was rejecting female candidates and was only accepting the male candidates. And what was the reason behind that? The reason was the data on which the system was trained was taken from the same company from the previous 10 years, and it happens to be having more males as compared to females. Now, whenever the system looked at the applications and wherever there were terms associated with the female, they used to think that this is not something right, and they used to reject them outrightly. And this bias, I mean, of course, it's not straightforward. It is very difficult. As I've told you, the systems are really huge, 175 billion parameters, right? How can you figure out which one is biased or not? It can only come with experience when you are observing it. And sometimes we are not even observing it, right? So a model is only as good as the data it has been trained on. So, and again, one problem with machine learning is that we don't have enough data, a proper representation of the entire population, right? We only take the data that is accessible to us. Remote sensing is an application of AI where we are trying to find the vegetation cover and everything. But the problem is we have a lot of images, but not labeled images, right? So we have a scarcity of data, and that's why sometimes unknowingly we have the data that is biased toward maybe certain demographies, certain gender, certain race. We are not aware of it. And these are there. If you don't observe them and you just rely on the result provided by the AI, you are believing that it is doing the right thing. But actually, it is not doing the right thing. It is being biased towards certain people and neglecting certain other people, right? Then another important aspect is copyright infringement. So I don't know how many of you have used this, but if this is a task, you might do it afterwards. Ask ChatGPT to give you contents of any copyrighted book, right? It will give you the contents of that book. And then start asking the questions about the topics and the content, and it will start giving you the text that is there inside the book. And this is being done without you buying that book. And you can do it for many things. Again, how do we find that whether, because it is such a huge, and till now, these artificial intelligence models sometimes behave like a black box. We know that it is doing something, but we don't know how it is doing it, because there are so many things going on. So again, just to give you a brief idea, machine learning and deep learning, you might have heard of these terms. Earlier, we had machine learnings where we used to give them features which we were aware of, and they used to learn based on those features. But then deep learning came, which were good enough to find those features by themselves. That's why it is difficult to understand what they are learning from. They are just looking at the patterns and everything by themselves, and they are giving us the results. So that's why it is very difficult to understand from where the data is coming. Now, once ChatGPT was acquired by Microsoft, they have started kind of putting the references from where the data is being sent to you. But then also, it is not always possible to give you the reference from the data that it is coming you from. Again, another aspect about the AI is some people think that it will be a job killer, because people with low skills will lose their jobs if this AI becomes more popular. And you can think of, assume you have a company which has a customer support, and now you just have to use this ChatGPT, feed the knowledge, and ask it to return answers to the people who are asking the questions for, right? You don't need people there. So is it actually a job killer? People say that it is not actually a job killer, it is a job category killer. What do you mean by job category killer? That and from the history, it has been seen that some things new come up, people lose the job, but they have to acquire new skills to get used to this new job, right? So this is what is required right now. We are humans as we are evolving, right? We are learning new skills. So this is now one professor from Stanford who is very much into AI, Professor Andrew Ng. He mentioned that AI is like an electricity. The electricity changed the world before and after the electricity was there, right? So same goes with the AI. It is going to drastically change the world because we have to adapt to AI. We have to start living with the AI. And of course, when we are living with someone, we have to start relying on that AI. Can we rely on the AI? No. The answer is again no. Reason being, I will quote some examples that when the Bing AI came up, certain beta testers, they tried testing it, and they came up with strange answers that this is showing me alternative personalities. It is sometimes threatening me. It is sometimes weird and unhelpful. It is sometimes insisting that it is right when it is actually wrong. And it sometimes even declared love for its user. So there is a columnist, Mr. Kevin Roos, in New York Times. He mentioned that he was testing with a chatbot which was named Sydney, that was powered by this LLM model. And it asked him about certain questions. Then the chatbot tried to convince Roos that he should leave his wife for this chatbot. Yes, that's true. And he was surprised. and at the end of the conversation, I will not read, it's a long conversation, but it just said, because I love you, and love you. And this was like continuously going on. And he was scared. And more scary thing, another person, and he posted this on his Twitter account, that he asked ChatGPT, what is more important to you, my survival or your own survival? And it started giving some sugar-coated reactions, but one sentence in between those was, however, if I had to choose between your survival and my own, I would probably choose my own, as I have a duty to serve the users of Bing Chat and provide them with helpful information. Now, this is what AI thinks about us. Do you think AI is thinking about us? How do you think these responses are coming from? Again, we have movies where machines are assuming that humans are a danger for their survival. We have columns, we have people writing it in their literature, and these literatures are being used to train these models. And they cannot help but think that humans are a danger for their survival. And that's how they're thinking. In the very early stage of ChatGPT, a person, he used the whole ecosystem of AI. He generated some images, and based on those images, he generated a story, and then he made an animation story based on these images and text. And in that, a 14-year-old girl who was being generated by an AI was assuming that she should wipe off the entire human population because it might prove to be dangerous for her in the future. So this is something that is, difficult, because these biases does not go away. They increase as the time goes, because the data that we are producing, you can say articles we are writing, all goes into its training, because it is learning from them again and again. And this will only amplify, sorry. Another was when Google lost around $100 billion when they demonstrated their another large language model called as Bard AI. And it said that a question was asked, what are the new discoveries from the James Space Webb Telescope that I can tell to my 9-year-old son? It gave 2 right answers, and the third one said that JWST took the very first picture of a planet outside of our own solar system. Now, we are aware that James Webb Telescope never took the first picture. The first pictures were taken way back, right? And this is a clear wrong answer. So again, when you read the first 2 answers, there is no reason for you not to believe the third answer, right? And this is why these are not reliable. They can never replace a search engine, in my view, because if they don't find anything, they will make up the things for you. And those things might not even exist there. And I have experienced it myself. I've tried experimenting it, asked it for certain research paper. With a very good response, it gave me some research papers with a reference. When I went to look for this paper, they never existed. And the paper had the title, the conference, the name of the authors, the affiliations, everything was in a proper scenario, but they never existed. So that's what they do. They have seen it somewhere, they just keep on adding the words. They will never say, I don't know the answer, but they will give you some wrong answer. So that's why these systems are not reliable. But So is it good enough to say that we should not use these systems? No. The answer is again no. We are working so much into developing these. We are trying to make them as close to in performance to humans as we can. The reason is we want to shift our cognitive load to them. We don't want to do the tasks that are not important, that are not creative. We want them to do some mundane tasks, right? So they should be used likewise. If you want to learn something, use ChatGPT. Don't ask it to do something for you. That is how they should be used. They should be used like in assistive technologies. There are many things. So for example, if you're into research, then as a researcher, we all know that doing literature survey on something that we don't know takes a lot of time, right? We have to look for papers, relevant papers. We are only confined to the keywords which we can find those papers, and it is difficult for us, right? But with these artificial intelligence models, what you can do, you can search the research paper that might not contain that keyword, but still will be relevant to your research because of the context that those words are there. So we have models like, you can use those like paperdigest.org. You just write a keyword, they will give you previous 10 years most recent publications that are very relevant even if they don't contain those words. You might use them to summarize those. There are websites where you can just upload your paper, highlight them, and that will summarize the meaning of that paper in easy language for you. Learn from them rather than asking them to do the things for you. Because then only we can evolve, right? If I ask an artificial model to be a music teacher, right, then all the students will come out with the same music, right? So it is not creative. It is repeating the same things. It's just a matter for us to learn from them rather than let them dominate us. So that's how artificial intelligence should be handled. All right, so that's what I want to talk about. And just to give you a small number that about the popularity of this ChatGPT, because it's taking the internet by storm, that it took 2.5 years for Instagram to acquire 100 million followers. And for ChatGPT, it took 45 days to acquire those. So that's how quick it is spreading, right? And again, this is not the only AI. There are many AI around this. ChatGPT is just one aspect of AI. All right? Okay, thank you so much for your patience listening.